I don't know. I mean, the whole reason why I started doing CrossFit instead of because I used to be your traditional, just go to the gym and do 3 sets of 10 curls.
Your bis and tris, bro.
Oh yeah, working out the bro muscles,
And they're huge.
Yeah, thank you. But I'd throw running in there. Man, I don't think there's anything on this earth that I hate more than running.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's
besides the
monotonous.
Taliban, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But yes.
Welcome to the Unbroken podcast with Chris Crosby. I have a guest today. He's been a friend for a couple years, Reid. And the first time he ever met me is I walk up to him at our gym. Him and his wife came to the gym. And I walk up and I was really excited. It was during the Open 2 years ago. And I walk up and I was just like, hey, welcome to the gym. And I was introducing him, and one of our members of the gym was actually top 12 nationwide, like in the Open. And I was just really amped about that. And I was like, hey, Ryan, Amy, one of our owners, he's in the top 12 in the Open. He's a pretty big deal. And I guess from that moment, they both kind of looked at each other and they're like, who is this guy? And it was just me being really excited. And remember what you told Amy?
Well, first of all, I mean, you kind of churched that up a little bit as far as...
Okay, yeah, give it straight.
Sure
give it straight.
I walked in and I was kind of confused. I was new. I was looking around trying to take everything in. And the first thing you said was, hey, I'm Chris. I don't know if you've heard, but our gym owner is kind of a big deal. And I remember, I didn't know the guy at the time, but Jeff Phillips turns to you and looks at you like you just made the biggest mistake in the world.
And James, both Jeff and James.
James too. And it was a very interesting welcome.
Welcome to CrossFit. And I was just excited. And then when I said it, I realized, I was like, that sounded really dumb. And I even posted on Facebook last night. I was like, I said something dumb at CrossFit, and I hope I didn't chase someone off. And then, like, a year later, we're friends at this point. I was like, hey, Ryan. And I tagged him in it. Remember this? He's like, yeah. And, like, I went up and I apologized, like, a whole week later. I was just like, hey, I was dumb. I'm sorry. And you're like, oh, don't even worry about it. It didn't even bother me. And then, like, 4 or 5 months later, you're like, yeah, I thought you were a total douchebag.
Yeah, I think those were the words I chose. It was definitely an interesting, I mean... You go from gym to gym. See, I'd done CrossFit before, but it was a very rugged kind of military style fitness facility. So it wasn't as clean cut as the gym we go to now is. And I just kind of heard things about stereotypes about how each gym has its stereotype.
Yeah.
And I walked in there, and I think this was on a hot day.
We're all hoity and toity.
Yeah. The stereotype was the hoity and toityness of it, but I mean, you go from a down and dirty gym to any gym pretty much, and it's going to be a little bit hoity toity, but it was douchey. But I mean, it was.
You learned quickly that it was just me being really overexcited, puppy dog kind of.
You've always. Anytime someone new comes in, you're always the first person to embrace them, and it's awesome. And I mean, I get that you were excited, and I understand that. I mean, there's no.
Luckily, I redeemed myself, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone or the gym at all is that way at all.
Yeah.
If anything, it just seems more like a family, and I guess that's the way it is. Like if you have a family member that brings their new boyfriend or girlfriend, there's always that one guy that's gonna say the wrong thing and give an awkward first impression. So
you know what? I'm good at that. I'm really good at that. I'll embrace you, but say something really awkward at the same time.
Yeah, but it made it more comfortable. I felt. I felt like I had to compete at that level. I was like, well, here we go.
Here, let's do this.
No, I'm just kidding. It was. I mean, it was nice that people came up to me whenever I first started coming there and kind of embraced me and said, talk to me at all. Because there's some gyms you go to and all you get is the stink eye. not necessarily a CrossFit gym, but that could be any gym, whether it's a Globo gym or whatever. So the fact that you guys were embracing new people was really, really cool.
Yeah, well, it was always fun, and I love meeting new people, and over the last few years, we've become really good friends, and one of the cool things that I've appreciated about you is, like, one thing that I realized when you joined the gym is your passion for fitness and working out, and that's something that you have acquired and found through your time in the military, but also, like, when we would do, like, a hero WOD or something that had a significance. And for people that don't know what a hero WOD, it's a workout that's in memoriam of either someone in the military or in the armed forces, or a firefighter or a policeman that dies in the line of service. And so they write a workout in memoriam of them. And I remember we did Murph for the first time you were at our gym, and weren't you in, like, full gear almost?
Yeah, I wore my uniform. Actually, the way that worked was we were doing the WOD of the year that next Saturday. By we, I mean me and one other guy from the gym. We had registered for the WOD of the year, and Macy kind of said, "Hey, take it easy this week. You got this competition coming up. Maybe it's not a good idea to do Murph, but seeing as how you're in the military, you have some experience with being deployed. Maybe you can come in your uniform and talk to us all about the significance of these hero WODs, and maybe explain where this one came from, who Murph was." So I did a lot of research, and I typed up a little description of who Murph was, and kind of where the workout and what the operation was that he was involved in, where he was killed, and came into the gym, and I saw other people there, and it was a pretty big turnout. I want to say there was about 35 people there.
A lot.
It was a really big turnout, and this was on Memorial Day,
Yep.
Which is a 3-day weekend. Most people, they take that time to go to the lake and have barbecues. People often forget what Memorial Day is actually about.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in and I saw all these people here, and they're dressed in different. Some people have pants on, military fatigue. Some people have shorts and a t-shirt. Some people brought their own weighted vests to do the workout. And I was in my boots, my full uniform, and I kind of looked around and got inspired. I'm like, well, here these guys are taking time out of their day, out of their holiday, to come in and honor, Lieutenant Murphy, and do the workout Murph.
Which is a mile run, 100 pull-ups,
Yep.
200 push-ups, and 300 air squats, and then you finish another mile run.
Yes.
And a lot of people do it with weighted vest.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It just kind of inspired me. I said, why should I stand here and watch all these people do this workout honoring this guy? I want to get in that. I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And the fact that I wore full uniform was, I guess.
It's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it stood out to a lot of people.
It did. I mean, by no means was my intentions to come in there and showboat and be in a uniform and just to do it. But actually, I intended not even doing the workout.
Yeah.
Until I got there and saw everyone and realized that it's not about me. It's about honoring those who sacrifice themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about those hero workouts is when they're a harder than normal workout, and they tell people while you're in the middle of that exercise, and it starts to suck, and you want to quit. That's when you start thinking about that hero or that person, and that's why we normally when we do a hero WOD, they talk a little bit about that hero, that person, their story. So instead of thinking about how much it sucks that, oh man, I have to do another 100 and whatever push-ups or sit-ups or whatever. Yeah, it's still, you got to focus on, I mean, you even tease me about that sometimes. We'll end a workout and you're like, what else was hard for, it wouldn't even be a hero WOD. I remember sometimes you're like, Lieutenant Murphy when he was being shot at, I'd be like, okay, Ryan, I get it. I'm being a wussy. So.
It's just one of those things. I mean, no matter how bad you think you have it, someone always has it worse or had it worse.
Yeah.
Or, so whenever things start getting bad, it's always a motivator for me to think about how much worse it could be.
So, Let's talk a little bit about on my Facebook page. I posted out there for people to ask questions and I said that you're a recruiter for the National Guard. How long have you been in the armed forces?
11 years this December.
This December.
I've been in it for 11 years.
And what kind of range of things have you done? Like your MOSs, and right now you're a recruiter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Right now I'm a recruiter. When I first joined, I joined as military police. Went to Fort Leonard Wood for my training, basic and AIT. Came back. I did 5 years as an MP. During that time frame, I went to Guatemala for a short time. I was in Kuwait, and I've also been to Iraq.
Iraq.
So
you've been 3 times out, like on.
Well, they were kind of, 2 of them were tied together.
Okay.
We spent some time in Kuwait before we went over to Iraq. In Iraq, we were part of the police transition team, which is set up. We basically went overseas to train the Iraqi police how to do their job.
Okay.
So we taught law enforcement operations. We did joint patrols. I was a gunner during that time frame, so I sat on top of a big truck with a big gun and kind of hung out in the heat while everyone else sat in the air-conditioned cab. It was kind of nice. From the waist down, I was pretty comfortable, but from the waist up, it's pretty hot.
Is that why your upper body's so swole all the time?
It's like you couldn't swell up the lower body because you wouldn't fit in the turret. So,
no leg day.
all they see is from my waist up anyway. So it won't be
that's what
intimidating in that point, in that perspective. So no, I just I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, so what drew you to be in the military? Like, what was kind of like that decision to? Because I know it's kind of in the family, right? Or
yeah. I've got a long line of family members who are in the military. My dad, my stepdad, who I call my dad because he's been there for well over most of my life.
Yeah, Larry.
Yes, and he was actually fresh out of recruiting school for the Guard. And,
He's like, I was
his first protege, I guess. He came home and he's had these fresh tactics on how to talk to high school kids in his head. And,
punk high school kid.
Yeah, I was just a punk high school kid. I was, but I played sports a little bit, not really too much. Didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, as far as career-wise. I didn't even know if I wanted to go to school.
Right.
I just wanted the option that had the most paths, whether it's go to school full-time and get it paid for, or go to the military full-time. So I wanted something that opened more doors than just a one direct route.
Right.
And so that's why I chose the Guard. I said, hey, I can go to basic and AIT, come back. If I like it, then I can do a conditional release to go active duty. If I don't like the military, I do my 6 years, drilling 1 week in a month. That's not really a whole lot of commitment to get my school paid for.
Weekend warrior.
Yeah, exactly. Get my school paid for and go to college, get a degree, and then start a career from there. So it was just one of those things where I was lost and I needed some direction. I felt like I needed some discipline to get motivated so I would have a successful career down the road. So that's pretty much it.
So like boot camps have always fascinated me, just because I was always a chubby kid. I mean, when I talked to a recruiter in high school, like I talked to a Marine recruiter, and I walked up and I was just like, hey, tell me about it. And he's like, you're too fat. I mean, that was the first thing he said to me. And I know that's not the kind of recruiter you are, because I told you this story before, and you're like, no, that's not what I would say to anyone. But like, so for me growing up, like boot camp has always been like like if I can think of anything that's like the hardest thing physically to do, like in my mind, like boot camp is the pinnacle. And now that I'm older and a little more experienced, I know that, it's not that terrible. But still, if someone said, hey, we're going to go through 8 weeks of boot camp, like my heart starts racing. So what is kind of like boot camp? Because I want to get into the fitness side of it, because I know it's a lot of breaking you down, building you up. But I mean, like, how did boot camp affect you, and what do you tell people like about boot camp now?
Well, it was hard. There's kind of a running joke, okay, because boot camp, what it was whenever I went to boot camp or basic training, is not the same as what it is today.
Okay.
I went to basic training in '04. So it's evolved, it's changed, the standards have changed kind of. When I went to basic training, it was pretty physical. We did a lot of what we called smoke sessions. And then you've got that, what I mean by it's not the same today as what it was back then is you've got the, okay, well, for instance, here's a joke. How many Rangers does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
3. 1 to do it, and the other 2 to talk about how hard it was whenever they had to do it. You know, everyone has this stereotype that their basic training was harder. And honestly, I can't tell you what it's like from a perspective today.
Right.
But I can tell you in '04, I mean, we had these things called smoke sessions where it was literally 4 buildings, and in the middle of these buildings was a half-mile track, and then inside that half-mile track were pull-up stations and big, I guess just pits full of tire chips.
Okay.
They'd shred tires and they'd throw them in there, and that would be your cushioning. And they'd take you out there and you'd do things called front-back goes for hours, it seemed like.
What's a front back go?
Well, front back go is basically when they say front, you roll over and you start doing push-ups. And when they say back, you roll over on your back and you start doing flutter kicks. And when they say go, you jump up and you start running in place with your hands in front of you. So they basically say front, back, go, front, back, however they want to mix it up.
And if you mess up, they start yelling at you, kind of thing.
Well, they're yelling at you the whole time.
Okay,
I mean, basic training, the whole purpose behind basic training is to prepare you for combat.
Okay.
And it's not very cost effective to shoot live rounds to induce stress. So what they do is they yell at you, they exert you, exhaust you physically. They deprive you from sleep. Not to any extreme by any means, but they're pretty much just trying to stress you out to prepare you for your mind and your body to work and function properly under a stressful condition.
So they're greasing the chain kind of thing, like, or what is, like, getting that muscle memory. So you don't have to think, you just react.
Exactly. If they stress you out to the point of your brain's flustered, you should still be able to operate and do the right thing in any given situation.
Instead of, like, me fetal position and sobbing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, that's just, and so basically a lot of these guys come out of basic training in the best shape of their life. Like, they could just sit there and crank out push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and run forever, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, and everyone's got the wrong idea on how basic training works. In order to go to basic training, on a male's standard, you're supposed to be able to do 13 push-ups in 1 minute, 17 sit-ups in 1 minute, and then run a 1-mile run in 8 minutes and 30 seconds or faster. Everyone's got this idea that they've got to be in super good shape to go to basic training. That's not the case. The purpose of basic training is to mold you into a soldier and take you from civilian and kind of take you and break you down and build you back up as a soldier. So basic training, I mean, you're doing PT every day.
Okay.
You're doing, and PT is physical training, but you're doing PT every day. And so they're building you up physically there.
Okay. But they're also, is it classes and...
Oh yeah, I mean, you shoot a lot of guns, you learn the CLS, Combat Lifesaver Course. There's classes over, general tactics, so on and so forth.
So it's not like, hey, for 13 hours we're working out. It's...
No, not at all.
Okay, because that's like, and that's just the immaturity in my mind, because I'm just like, you work out for 16 hours and then you go march and then, I don't know. So that's the ignorant side of...
No, you pretty much run everywhere you go. If you're going to the bus, you're running to the bus. If you're going to the training site, you're running to the training site. If there's extra time in the day, it's not the fact that they hate you or they don't like you. They're just trying to make you physically better. So they'll pull you to the side and make you do push-ups and flutter kicks and so on and so forth.
Okay. Wow. I mean, I bet for you, was that just a big, like, as a teenager, I mean, what kind of effect did that have on you?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I've got to do a lot of really cool stuff. I learned a lot of really cool stuff. I got in good shape. I mean, honestly, I went to basic training. I think I weighed like 172 between my junior and senior year, and then I came back and I weighed like 153. But I could crank out pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, and I mean, I was running a 13:30 2 mile, so I got in pretty good shape. By the end of it, the smoke sessions were kind of a joke.
Yeah.
For lack of better terms, we started toying with our drill sergeant where he would make us do front back goes, and we would follow him around because he'd walk around the formation of all the soldiers that were doing the front back goes, and every time he turned around, we would be right there behind him doing whatever exercise he was calling out. Just because it's one of those things you got to do small things to entertain yourself, and we thought it was funny because the look on his face every time he turned around and we were there, he was confused.
So you think you wouldn't? I guess towards the end of basic training, you kind of have that relationship with the drill sergeant, or what is it? It's the
drill sergeant.
Drill sergeant. That they might not have to scream as much there at the end.
Well, yeah. I mean, they kind of. I don't know if it's that they relax or you just are actually at that point. You're a soldier,
Yeah.
and you're obeying the guidance that they're giving you, and you've got military bearing, and so maybe you don't notice it as much.
Okay.
But there's definitely, there was times there towards the end where they took their brown round off, which is their drill sergeant hat, and kind of sat down and talked to us, and made us feel like we were rounding the final corner
That's cool.
to become a soldier and graduate. So
You graduate from like grub to maggot kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. The first 3 weeks are red phase. All right, it's broken up in red, white, and blue phase. The first 3 weeks are red phase, and in red phase, I've never felt like I was lower than that point. We couldn't call cadence when we marched. You couldn't do anything right. You were constantly getting smoked. Our beds were being torn apart because our corners weren't 45-degree angles, and
Yeah.
people would leave their wall lockers open, and then next thing you know, we come up to do what we think is, right, and relax a little bit, for 5 minutes maybe. And everyone's stuff's torn out of their wall lockers. Their boots are all, in a big pile, and they tell you got 5 minutes to get it sorted out. So you're scrambling, just trying to grab. It doesn't matter if you got 2 left boots or 2 right boots or your boots. You're just grabbing stuff to try to make it look cool or look.
We'll figure it out later.
Exactly. But it's an experience. I mean, it really is. It's very humbling because you realize that, people come up to me all the time and they say, "Hey, thank you for your service."
Yeah.
When I'm in uniform, or they'll try to buy my lunch. And the fact of the matter is soldiers serve you guys.
Right.
We serve you, and it's humbling because it makes you understand that.
You're more cognizant of being in the uniform in public, kind of thing.
Right.
So, I mean, that's cool. Do you like that when people come up and I mean, like, not necessarily like it, but like you said, humbling? Because I know sometimes it's just like I've had people say like it's almost like embarrassing. It's just like, oh, okay, thank you. Like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or I want to do is serve. I don't know if that's even like a right question or.
No, I see what you're saying. I mean, basically, how does it make me feel when people come up and buy my lunch or shake my hand and say thank you?
Yeah.
I really, I appreciate it.
Right.
But I wish it wouldn't happen.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to get on a soapbox, but we're just doing our job.
Right.
That's what we signed up to do. And honestly, if we didn't like it, we would do our first contract and get out.
Yeah. And there's a lot to do.
Yeah, there is. There's some people that do it and they realize, hey, this isn't for me, and they get out. But it's a job. It's no different than going up to, the people who deserve recognitions are the teachers in schools and the construction workers who build the buildings that we work and live in. And I just do my job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I see it. Is I'm no different than someone who sits at a desk or someone who, works on the roads. We're just doing our job.
Yeah. One thing that I was talking to you a little bit before we did the podcast that I want to know a little bit more about is the maintaining the fitness, because we talked a little bit about like the weekend warrior or people that aren't like active duty. You do have to maintain a certain level of physical fitness to stay in the military, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I mean, like, say if you gain like 100 and some pounds, would they throw you out, or would they put you in fat camp for a week, or like what would they do?
Well, it's It depends. I mean, there's two different standards. You got the Army height and weight policy, which is basically based on your height. This is how much you should weigh. But then there's also a tape test, which measures your body
BMI.
fat. Yeah, your body mass index or your body fat percentage. And as long as you maintain under the allowable body fat percentage, you're good to go. So you can weigh 30 pounds over your maximum weight.
As long as you tape well.
You tape out, yeah. And then there's the other side of it, where it's the physical fitness portion of it. The Army has an Army physical fitness test. It's 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. And based on your age is going to dictate what score you need to get in each category.
Yeah.
As far as, what you're talking about, the difference between the active duty and the reserve component side of it, whether it's, Army, Navy, Air Force, National Guard, Reserves, whatever, I think it's a lot harder as a reserve component soldier or airman or Marine. You've got a full-time job, or you're going to school full-time. You've got your drill on the weekends, and then you've also got to find time in your day to maintain that level of physical fitness.
Right.
We don't get together every day and do PT.
Yeah.
So it's kind of something you have to do on your own. But every year you're going to take, in the Guard, every year you're going to take an Army physical fitness test. And you're going to have to score, high enough to, I guess, have a passing score.
So it's like if I failed it, like if I was reserve and I took the test, my yearly test, like do you get a certain amount of tries or?
Well, they basically would be a record fail. And then it's up to the commander's discretion on what he wants to do, whether he wants to implement a PT program for you. You go to remedial PT, counsel you and say, hey, this is where you're at, this is where you need to be. And then you've got a certain amount of time to get there before they retest you again.
Okay. And one of the things that, through being in the world of CrossFit, is there's a lot of military people that's what they do after or while they're reserves, or they do CrossFit. That's how they stay in shape. Is that, did you when you were in active duty, or even, because I went to your work the other day and you basically have like a rig, like bumper plates, kettlebells, like basically a whole CrossFit gym in your guys' work. Do you find that pretty much commonplace with? Well, it is. It's there now. It's evolving into that. I don't know who's making the calls as far as saying, hey, this is a new program that we need to start implementing. But for the longest time, for as long as I can remember, the Army has just gone off of, okay, we're going to do push-ups, sit-ups, and we're going to run, and we're going to throw some pull-ups in there. And that's pretty much how PT ran. You had run days where you just run for however long the drill sergeants or you guys wanted to run. And then you'd have your push-ups and sit-up drill days where you do just push-ups and sit-ups for 2 minutes at a time. But, I mean, fitness is changing. It's kind of one of those things where you've got to make it fun and you've got to make it interesting, or else people are going to opt out of doing it, or they're just going to do the bare minimum. Right.
We've got that equipment, and there's few people that use it in the office that I'm in. Simply because they don't understand how to use it.
Right.
It's one of those things where it's all useful, but they don't know how to use it, so they don't want to go back there and look like a goofball, just throwing stuff around. And it's, I mean, if you don't do it right, then you're at a high risk of injuring yourself. So it's one of those things where we've got the equipment, now we just need to start getting people in there who are knowledgeable and can actually show, okay, this is how you use this equipment, so on and so forth.
And I know one of Joe, who's been on the podcast, he had come and done some like boot camp style, I guess boot camp, some workout classes for people. Like, what was that?
Yeah, for the people who were struggling, kind of on the edge of failing a PT test, we kind of put together a special program for them and said, hey, come in, we'll have someone who's actually, certified to coach using this equipment come in and train you guys and get you to where you need to be,
right.
Well above that standard of passing the PT test. And I kind of peeked in there, and man, Joe did an awesome job. He took a lot of those guys who were right there, like I said, on the edge of failing, and I believe it was 8 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks. They were well beyond passing the PT.
That's awesome.
He did an awesome job, helping them and giving them some different ideas. A lot of people think you have to have, fancy machines to work out, but honestly, you could have a sandbag in your garage and figure out a way to do a good workout with it.
Yeah. With all that you do now, because you lift a lot now and you do CrossFit and when we went in and we did a shoulders and back workout, and then we did a Metcon, which I think I'm still sore from. Like my back is still sore. But do you find that with what you're doing now, say if you had to take your PT test this next week, would you do just as well as you would straight out of boot camp, or maybe not on the run, but like, I don't know, how would you compare?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the whole reason why I started doing CrossFit instead of, because I used to be your traditional, just go to the gym and do 3 sets of 10 curls.
Your buys and tries, bro.
Oh yeah, working out the bro muscles.
And they're huge.
Yeah, thank you. But I'd throw running in there. Man, I don't think there's anything on this earth that I hate more than running.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's
besides the Taliban, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But yes, I just don't like to run. I don't like to run, and I was constantly going to the gym. I knew I had to run. I mean, it's something. The only way to get better at running is to run.
Yeah.
So I'd go to the gym and I'd make myself run before I did the weights. It was kind of like my treat to myself. Hey, if I run, 2.5 miles, then I'll go in and lift weights. But man, I was taking up like 2.5, 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Between running and then regaining your composure and stretching out after a run, and then going in and lifting weights and stretching out after that.
It's amazing how fatigued your back gets when running. Like, I remember coming in after doing a mile run to try to do back squats, and I'm like, I couldn't get my positions because I was just like, why is my back so tired? And Joe's like, you just ran, your back's tired, because that core and good technique.
Yeah, a lot of it's just from leaning forward,
yeah.
While you're running, and you're trying to, that lower back supporting you, I guess, whenever you're leaning forward. But I had a buddy that I was deployed with one day. He said, hey, why don't you come in and try CrossFit? And
you're like, gay.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, honestly, I was like, that sounds dumb.
Yeah.
And I've got another story about a guy in Iraq asking me to do CrossFit, and I'll get to that later. But my buddy says, hey, just come try CrossFit. And I went there at 6 a.m, and the workout for the day was Randy.
Yeah.
Which is 75 snatches for time.
Yeah.
At 75 pounds. And it was a hero WOD. So at this time, I had no idea what the significance of the hero WOD was.
Right.
I was just like, okay, well, I had very little form.
Yeah, snatch is very technical, and a lot of people don't walk in and they're like, oh, this is how you do it.
But, I was like, well, I lift weights. I can do anything I want to do.
Yeah.
75 pounds, I can curl 75 pounds with one arm.
Maybe
not so true, but, So I get the bar loaded, and I'm going, and I'm kind of watching everyone else, trying to see how they're doing the snatch, and trying to mimic them.
Yeah.
And I'm getting yelled at by the coach, because it's terrible.
Are you here? Is this here in Springfield, or was this?
It was in Nixa.
Nixa, okay.
Yep. And he's trying to correct me, and eventually I get to where I guess he figures, it's light enough weight, he's not going to hurt himself that bad, and he's kind of a lost cause, so I'll just let him fling the weight around 75 times, and we'll call it good.
You probably gave him the stink eye a few times, right?
Oh, yeah. I gotta give him the stink eye. But I got done with the workout, and I remember being way more gassed than on any run I've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, I was out. So I laid down, and I went into the fetal position and laid there for a while.
Did your friend just come over and laugh at you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
As I would do, if I was in his position.
Yeah.
I laid there, and eventually I got up, and the next day I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah.
Every muscle in my body was sore, and it took less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is where it's at. You know, being a family man, having a daughter, and being married, I want to try to find that workout that's going to get me where I want to go.
And get it within an hour.
But get it over with.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be spending, you know, my evenings at the gym the entire night. So pretty much went up the next day, signed the waiver, paid my money, and started going to CrossFit.
How long did it take you to talk your wife into do it? Because she CrossFits.
Yeah. She actually, I didn't talk her into it.
Okay.
I tried really hard, but she's pretty stubborn. So she kept shutting me down. She's like, no, that's stupid. I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to look like, you know, I have all these muscles. And anyways, I was like, well, I've been trying for the last 20 years of my life to get, you know,
bulky and have muscle.
And no, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
But anyway, she wouldn't listen to me. And the buddy of mine who talked me into going to CrossFit, actually his wife talked my wife into it.
Okay.
And for like 3 weeks, she hated me.
Yeah.
Because it was like I talked her into it. And she'd come home so sore and like couldn't walk. But she eventually, you know, once that initial shock period wears off to where your body start getting used to the workout.
You start craving it.
Yeah. And then she just fell in love. So much so that she even did competitions herself, you know.
Yeah.
She's taking a long break now, but
yeah,
it's one of those things.
Because another one's on the way, right?
Oh yeah, April 1st.
April 1st. That's a good joke right there, right?
I know, right? It's gonna be bad as if it comes out and it's not. The doctor said a boy, but if it comes out a girl, we're gonna have to take a lot of stuff back and get it exchanged. It's one heck of an April Fool's.
That would be really funny. So what's that story you said about a friend in Iraq trying to get you to do CrossFit?
Well, he was. We were attached to a MIT team, which is the same thing as what we did, just on the military side.
Okay.
We became PSD, a personal security detail for the MIT team, military transition team, and this guy was in the Ranger Battalion for several years, and then ended up going OCS, and was a captain. And we're sitting there in the graveyard,
mm-hmm.
which is where they take all the old equipment that's kind of broke down.
Okay.
And we're just hanging out, and he comes up to me and says, hey, you know, if any of you guys want to try CrossFit, you're more than welcome to join us. And at this time, I'd never even heard of CrossFit.
Right.
And I said, what's CrossFit? And he had his interpreter with him. And he said, well, why don't you just knock out 10 burpees? And that'll give you a little idea what CrossFit is.
Yeah. And
this is back in 2008. So, I mean, it's fairly early in the CrossFit years. I mean,
yeah, that's still
quite getting
beginning,
popular,
yeah.
But I was like, well, what's a burpee? And he turned to his interpreter and said, hey, show him 10 burpees. And the interpreter did the 10 burpees, and I looked at the guy that was talking to me. I said, that's the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Lay down and stand up and jump. Like, that's retarded.
Flop down on your stomach and then jump in the air. I was like, that's ridiculous. And he's like, well, just try 10 of them. I said, no, I'm good. And like 2-3 years later, here I am, you know, going to my first CrossFit class with my buddy who was in Iraq with me. And, Burpees are still pretty stupid.
Yeah, just 10 of them.
Yeah.
I got in the class in trouble on Friday. I'm just talking back to Mandy, or it was a Saturday. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all had to do a 10 burpee penalty.
Yep.
You didn't do them.
Nope.
Oh man. The cool thing is you got Amy doing it, but you also got your mom and your dad.
Yes. Yep.
And your mom gets in there and she gets after it. She does awesome.
Oh yeah, it's done great things for my mom, man. It's she, you know, before she couldn't do without, you know, further than an arm's reach from an inhaler. She had pretty bad asthma.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even think she uses it anymore.
Wow.
She's come a long way, and it's something that I think a lot of people can say this. It's something that she loves to hate.
Yeah, you get in there
about it, but then she keeps going, and it's one of those. That's kind of the appeal to it from a military standpoint. Is you know, in the military we often use the term embrace the suck.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks, but the camaraderie you build and the companionship you have of looking around and everyone's in that same crappy situation, doing the same crappy workout, and you guys push each other through it. I mean, that's got a lot. I mean, that's pretty much the military in general.
That's cool. So you got a little bit of that brotherhood that you love in the military. You also get that in the gym when you people are slugging through a crappy workout together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get put in some crappy situations in the military, and the only person you have to lean on is the person to your left and right.
Yeah.
And same way in CrossFit. I mean, it's all sucking, but you're sucking together.
Yeah, that's cool. And your dad is so great to see Larry out there, because I remember when he started, he had like no mobility at all, like zero, and he's come a long way just on his lifts. But I love it. He always like goes like way too hard out the gate, like especially if there's a run on the get go. He's like, no one's gonna beat me on the run, and he'll go sprint like a mile and come in and like fall on his face, which I love.
It takes him like 30 minutes to do 20 deadlifts.
Yeah.
135.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He's great. He's really great. I think he's still in that mode that he wants to compete with me.
Yeah.
You know, he's not quite ready to pass the torch and say, okay, you beat me.
Yeah.
So, which is awesome. I mean, it's.
I mean, he's not old, but at that age, I mean, he's older than us. I mean, and I love at his age to be able to go out there and throw down, you know, and hang with the guys still.
Yeah, I mean, he's got and he's had his struggles too. You know, he went through a back surgery, and the other day, I guess he pulled 455 on deadlift, which is insane.
He pulled 455?
455.
Man, I gotta step up my deadlift game.
I'm telling you, that's what I'm saying.
I'm sitting at 420. Yep. Oh man, so what advice do you give to people that, because I mean, right now you're a recruiter, you're on the front lines, you're talking to people, kids and people that want to join. It's like if my 215 pound chubby 5'11" kid of me came up to you back in 2000 and said, hey, I'm thinking about recruiting, like what do you, because I was a chubby 215. What would you do? How would you help someone get ready to be in the military fitness wise?
Well, I mean, in the warmer months, I run a PT program up there at the Armory. You know, it's free. Just come in. I mean, we don't do any of the technical Olympic lifts because, I mean, no one's certified to teach that. And, you know, I'm not going to try to get in there and get someone hurt. We got kettlebells, you know, medicine balls, pull-up rig, some bands. So we do a lot of endurance stuff. But man, I encourage people to come in. I mean, if you want to join and you're not there physically, like I told you, I'm not going to turn you away.
Right.
It's all about how bad do you want it.
Right.
I would take a kid who started out overweight and, you know, pushed himself for 6 months to get to where he can be eligible to join, and has that drive and motivation over a kid who's in shape and wants to sit on the couch and play video games.
Right.
I'd take the first kid any day, all day, every day.
Have you taken a kid like that? Like, that you worked with him through it, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had one that I had to work to get down below weight. I've got one that I'm working with pretty consistently now, and it's a female. She's pushing herself. She motivates me to do my job better.
Yeah.
You know, she's been coming to drill with us without getting paid for like 8 months now.
Just see how bad she wants it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it breaks my heart that she's not there yet, because every day we're getting these kids that come in and they're completely eligible, but they don't want to do it because they think they're above it. And then I've got this girl over here who wants nothing more than to just wear a uniform and have the opportunity to serve her country, but she can't because she's, you know, a little overweight.
Do you find one of the more limiting factors for people trying to join, like weight or physical fitness? Or
No, I mean, not necessarily. Physical fitness is, most of the people coming to my office are in pretty good shape. There's onesies and twosies that want to join, but they can't because they're not quite there. But I mean, medical side of it is what disqualifies a lot of people. You know, having
Yeah.
past medical conditions, whether it's childhood asthma or some sort of medication, something like that. That disqualifies people a lot more than height and weight.
Okay. Yeah, just the whole, and you mentioned, like, back when I lost the 100 pounds the first time, I was thinking about joining something because I was floundering. I mean, as an adult, as a parent, you know, like, I just didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so I even now, just the thought of serving our country, and I come from a long list of, you know, military, like, my grandparents, they were, like, my grandma's been married twice, but also all three of my grandpas were either Navy, Marines, or Army, and my uncle was in the Army. And so I had that growing up around me, and I was always been a part of my family. And so that's, I mean, I'm only 33, so it's not too late yet, but I still have some weight to lose, but I don't know. I don't know if my wife wants me to do it. Do you ever get that, where, like, get into, like, parents or spouses, like, I don't want this person to sign up? I mean, what's some crazy stories as a recruiter? Because I'm sure you've seen about everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had everything from prostitutes walking in my door and trying to join. Oh yeah, yeah. To kids who bring their moms in, and their moms are crying at my desk, and I almost take the paper away from them and say, "Look, you're not joining. I can't." You know, I feel bad.
Yeah.
But the parents aren't. She's not crying because he's joining. You know, it's just one of those things. It's
Taking my baby away.
You're going into the threshold of manhood.
Yeah.
You know, you're going from being mama's little boy to wearing a uniform, protecting your country, and becoming a man.
Man. Yeah.
So I've had plenty of crazy stories. You know, as far as, like I said, having a girl come in and we're talking, and I said, okay, well, going through the different questions you ask to pre-qualify someone, and I said, okay, well, do you have any law violations? And she said she was busted for prostitution. All right, well, thanks for that. You know, like, I don't know. I have a hard time telling people no.
Right.
So when they come into my office and they end up being disqualified, no matter what it's for, I'm normally
hard for
my
you.
best to let them down easy.
Yeah.
I say, hey, look, you know, I appreciate it, because a lot of them, they actually want to do the right thing. Maybe
Right.
they had made a mistake in the past.
And who hasn't?
Exactly. I think everyone deserves a second chance. Some people get caught, some people don't. You know, that's the matter of it. Or the fact of it is you got caught.
Right.
And maybe you've changed your ways, and you deserve the same opportunity, but it's not my call.
Yeah.
You know, it's I go off of the black and white of every regulation. So what it says is what it is, and it's unfortunate, but I guess that's it.
Yeah. I just, the whole world has kind of fascinated. That's a lot of the reason why I want to talk to you, because I know you have a lot of good stories, and I enjoy talking to you anyway. And I almost felt like I had to convince you to come in here. Like, why do you want to talk to me? I'm like, dude, you're on the front lines of help, like, ushering people into, like, adulthood. I mean, like, you're right there. I mean, like, for me, I probably could have used at 18 a kick in the butt and that discipline, but I love playing video games, and I was chubby, and, you know, it's just, I don't know, like, I think it's a good thing for people to get out and experience that, you know, that kind of discipline, because a lot of times now people are in that entitled, like, kids feel entitled.
Oh yeah, I deal with that a lot too. We go to a lot of schools, and we'll put on. We've recently been putting on PT programs for, like, different weights classes and stuff, and you'd be amazed the amount of. I mean, kids nowadays in high school do not have motivation or drive. They don't push themselves. They're not as competitive as what I remember us being. I mean, we used to compete over stupid stuff. You
Right.
know, it's ridiculous, but to go into these high schools now and see these kids, they're definitely entitled. Like with the whole free college movement, you know, all these students across America asking for free college. And your answer's in any recruiting station in the
Right.
city. You want to go to college for free?
Serve your
Join
country.
the military.
Yeah.
You know, is it all going to be 100% free? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what your degree is.
Yeah.
And how long you go to school. But why shouldn't you have to work for something you want.
Right.
You know, but I see these kids, and we went to a school a few weeks ago, and one kid, you know, I was in there in shorts and a hoodie. We were outside at the football field. It was like 30 degrees. It was cold.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing a workout. And this kid jumps up in the middle of it, and I'm doing it with him. So it's not like we were
You were
placing
hovering.
ourselves in a position that says we're better than you. You know, we're not going to have to do this. He gets up and he says he's done. He just says, I don't want to do this anymore. It's a weights class. It's not like we were taking the band out there to do physical activity.
Right.
We were taking a weights class to lift weights. And it just blew my mind. Like, I never would have dreamed of just standing up and then saying I'm done and completely ignoring two people who were teaching the class. You know, it was just the amount of disrespect and the lack of motivation just made me realize that, man, it's just...
How hard was it not to go like drill instructor on the kid?
It was pretty tough.
Yeah.
You know, at our drill weekends, we're kind of put in that position to where we're not drill sergeant qualified, but we're preparing them for basic training.
Right.
So we have to be a little bit more stern on them, kind of emulate the environment of basic training.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty hard not to just get in his face and start yelling. But at the same time, he's not in the military.
Right.
We're
He's
at a
just a
high
kid.
school. We are the guest of the school.
Right.
So we just kind of had to usher him inside and talk to the coach and be like, hey, this is what happened.
Yeah.
But there are some schools that want us to do that. There's some schools that want us to go full drill sergeant on their kids. You know, like wrestling team.
Yeah.
For one of the local schools here in Springfield. He's like, get in their face, yell at them. They want that. They want that drive. They want that push. They want that motivation. And that's awesome. But even then, I'd say about 60% of the kids were just laying around, not even putting out any effort.
Huh.
So it's one of those things where you can yell at them, but it's only going to do so much good.
You went kind of drill sergeant on me at one time when we did a run. Do you remember that? When I was just running a mile, and at 800 meters, I was wanting to stop and be like, no! You're not stopping. Come on. And you're like, I'm going to go drill sergeant on you.
Well, it's one of those. I mean,
you see the potential in people. You knew I could keep going.
Well, that's just it. People will quit on themselves a lot easier than they'll quit on someone else.
Right.
You know, and it's one of those things, you get a stitch in your side and it gets uncomfortable and you just say, you know, what's it matter? I'm just going to walk and catch my breath.
Right.
But if you got someone in your face motivating you and pushing you, you might push a little bit further.
Or through it. You can go a little bit further than you normally can.
Yes.
Yeah. I ran that whole mile.
Yeah.
So, and I felt really good about it. And you were like, that was really slow, but but no, you didn't say that. But I mean, it's just really cool. Like a little bit about that. I mean, everyone it's hard as a parent you want your kids to feel special, right? But it's finding that balance. I know one of them, talking about Macy again, he talked about he doesn't believe that everyone should get a trophy, that you should earn the trophy. And I see that because when I was a kid growing up, we had to earn our trophies. We didn't get a participation trophy. And I know how excited my kids get when they get something like that, but at the same time, it's finding that balance of, well, let's let them be competitive and try to, earn that trophy, that drive. And I don't know, for me, I struggle because I see both sides of it. But I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing a lot of the kids now feel entitled to the things that they want. Just well, I'm out here doing it, so I can just stop if I want to.
Well, yeah, and I think it hinders people whenever you do the whole participation trophy thing. It hinders people from doing their best. I mean, honestly, because the way some of these kids are looking at it is, it doesn't matter if I'm the best player on the team or the worst player on the team. I'm getting the same reward as everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the entitlement thing goes, I mean, it's insane. And I'm not saying every kid out there is just the worst. I'm not saying that every kid out there has entitlement issues. I'm just saying.
We're just seeing it a lot more.
Yeah, I remember us having a lot more drive and competitive nature as a kid. I mean, than what I'm seeing nowadays.
Some of the things that I do, I asked the social media, and I know a lot of the guys were being funny with you on there, because we always tease Ryan. The one thing we tease Ryan about is his arms being so huge that all he does is work his arms out all the time.
They're not huge. They're just really short, so they look huge.
He's got these T-Rex arms that he doesn't really have to, do much for it to be massive.
My range of motion on a push-up is like 4 inches.
So like your bench press is just monstrous because of that. And Macy just put an American flag, so I think he gave you a solid America right there.
Yeah, these colors don't run, you know what I mean?
I think Dina's the only one that did it. Jared says, do I have too many tattoos to join? Or does my old age disqualify me?
Yes.
Okay, and another one of my friends says, why does he associate himself with Chris Crosby?
You're the man.
Oh, man.
I mean, I really enjoy it. I mean, like you said in the beginning of this whole deal, we're friends.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a good dude. I mean, that's pretty much it.
I hold on to people and I don't let go. I'm just like, we're going to be best friends.
Yeah.
Because, like, the science behind brewing beer is just so fascinating to me. And I don't even remember how I talked about it. And then I found out that, I think it was Larry said that, well, Ryan brews beer. So I cornered you and I was just like, can you teach me how to brew beer? And you're like, yeah, when?
Yeah.
And so like we mapped it out. We got a bunch of the guys. We called ourselves the Wolf Pack, and we got together and brewed a couple batches of beer in one day and ate a bunch of pizza. And the kids watched a lot of TV. And I thought I got you in trouble at one time when I was like, hey Amy, this Saturday. And I did the thing. She had no idea what we were doing, but anyway, so we have good times with the Wolf Pack. And Dina says, how was military CrossFit different than CFR or a CF gym in general?
Well, I mean, as far as CrossFit in the military, I've yet to see them implement it into any sort of physical training. Really, any of the service members that do CrossFit normally do it in their own free time at a CrossFit gym. But as far as like fitness in general, the military is more geared towards muscle endurance as far as body weight movements and muscle endurance. Like the push-up is used to measure the endurance of your chest and shoulder muscles. The sit-up is used to measure the endurance of your abdominal and your hip flexor muscles. And then the run is obviously for cardio. So they're more based off of, muscular endurance, but also moving heavy loads over an undetermined, distance.
Okay.
So ruck marches and stuff like that. And the whole, I guess, reason behind that is if you're kicking indoors and jumping through windows, I mean, you're not necessarily going to have to be able to deadlift 400 pounds to do that, but you're going to be able to need to jump
you get that
into the
explosiveness.
windows and pull yourself up into a room or whatever the case is, climb a ladder. So the military is more focused towards body weight and muscular endurance, whereas CrossFit seems to be more wider range. I mean, they're getting into moving those loads at an undetermined distance, but also being able to do those Olympic lifts, I guess, as well, and then as the gymnastics piece too. So it's very different.
So like if you were, say you get deployed tomorrow and you're out there, I listened to a podcast with Christmas Abbott, and she basically said that there's a CrossFit gym basically at any base or anything like that. They have like pretty much a setup there to do CrossFit.
Yeah, and like what you saw at the Armory there in Springfield. I mean, we just got that rig in, the pull-up rig and the bumper plates and all that stuff in. If there's not a CrossFit gym on base or the equipment somewhere on base, then there's normally one very close to the military installation. So there's definitely plenty of opportunities to go do that sort of workout.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think CrossFit's an awesome, I guess,
well-rounded, like fully functional.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great avenue for total body fitness. I mean, from being able to do body weight movements to lift heavy objects to cardio endurance. I mean, that's why I went into it. I mean, it's definitely got me and kept me in a lot better shape than what I was doing before.
Otherwise, yeah. Well, Ryan, we're almost at an hour, man. Any like parting words? I usually ask people at the end if they had to give 3 pieces of advice to anyone that was wanting to. We've kind of done a few of these, but wanted to get into the world of fitness, weightlifting, weight loss. I don't know, like what kind of advice? And I guess like if it was someone that you were talking to about joining the military or joining a gym or whatever, what 3 pieces of advice would you give someone?
Man, that's kind of putting me on the spot.
Yep.
Not really. I mean,
Hard-hitting questions.
I was trying not to have to come in and do this. I mean, I guess the biggest one is don't let anyone else tell you no.
Yeah.
Like what you said, whenever you were a kid and you went and talked to a recruiter and they shut you down, whether it's military or any time in life. I mean, if you've got something that you want to achieve it.
Right.
I mean, it's up to you. It's not up to the recruiter whether or not you get yourself in the position to where you can join. It's not, don't take no for an answer. Just keep pushing forward. If you've got something in your sight picture that you're going to try to knock out, keep pushing till you get it.
Yeah.
Everyone on this earth has a gift, and once you figure it out, use that gift and make something of yourself.
Yeah. I don't make you answer the other ones, but well, man, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. You did awesome. It was a lot of fun talking to you, and I'm gonna go ahead and tie it up real quick. So if you guys, listeners, if you liked what you heard today, go ahead and like and subscribe on Stitcher and iTunes, and we'll get the word out there a little bit more. And Ryan, is there a way that people could find you on social media? Do you have like an Instagram or anything, or anything that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. I mean, as far as like my personal Facebook.
Yeah.
By all means, I mean, if you are interested in the military and have questions, look me up on Facebook. I mean, I'll answer what I can. It doesn't matter what branch or what component. I'll answer all the questions I can and kind of give you some tips and advice as far as what helped me or what I wish I would have known back when I was 17.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you know my name, so
yeah,
just look it up on Facebook. I'm sure there's 15,000 of us, but I'm the only one in a sweet rocking chair with a shotgun.
With a shotgun, yeah. I mean, and all you have to do is look for a picture with big biceps, and
that's true.
And I mean, there it is.
If 70% of the picture is a bicep, then you probably know that's me.
And tiny legs.
Thank you.
Just kidding. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening, and remember to live unbroken.